Hi, my name is Heather and I'm here today because we are going to make dolma. I learned how to make dolma from my mom. This is Judy. My sister Bree and my daughter Hania are also here to help. My mom learned to make dolma from her mom, Margaret, who learned how to make dolma from her mom, Naima. So obviously this is a family tradition that we all love. It is my favorite food and I'm so excited to be here today.
Dolma, growing up, we called it yaprach, which is the Chaldean word for it, and dolma, which is stuffed grape leaves, is the Arabic word for it. And it's a perfect meal. It's got your proteins, it's got your grains, and it's got vegetables. And it's a meal the whole family can enjoy all out of one pot, and it's a great meal for a big crowd. It's really fun to make together, to eat together, and everybody can put their own twist on it depending on what your family likes. This is from the Chaldean tradition from a village called Tilkef, and it's in northern Iraq. Here we have all the ingredients you need to make dolma. The reason we have two is we're gonna make one pot of vegetarian dolma. It will actually be vegan if you don't add butter, and one pot of meat dolma. And we use 2 pounds of coarse ground. I use sirloin. You can use any kind of meat that your family enjoys, and all different vegetables to stuff for the stuffing. And we have the rice for the filling and the grape leaves. So the grape leaves, I picked these myself. They grow profusely in Michigan, but you can also purchase grape leaves from the store. They come in a jar such as this. I purchased these, and there's a bag of grape leaves that you don't have to refrigerate also that come like this. So when we get started, we're going to have help by Heather, Bree, and Nia. So we're going to show you step by step exactly how we do everything. So we're gonna start with the cabbage. I'm here and I'm gonna make the pot with the meat filling, and Brianna's gonna do the pot of dolma with just a vegetarian filling. So to prepare the cabbage, I cut the core out, and I cut a good portion of the core out, and we're gonna stuff this cabbage eventually, so we have to steam it in a little bit of water in a pot like this. And I put about 1 inch of water in there because most of you just want to steam it to soften it up so that you can roll. And I take the entire core out so that when you're pulling the leaves off of the cabbage head, they come off easily and they stay intact. Okay, so I got the whole core out of this cabbage, and I'm going to set it in the pot in the 1 inch of water, like this. And then I'm going to add onions to it too. So we have 3 onions here. I use 2 for stuffing and 1 that goes in the filling. So we don't need that one quite yet. So we're going to prepare the onions. Take the peel off. And you'll learn as you start making dolma to make the vegetables and stuff the vegetables that your family likes the best. And you'll get to know that. We all eat some of everything. Most of us, our favorites are the grape leaves. But my husband loves the cabbage, which we also use to line the bottom of the pot. And, you know, everybody has their favorite in here. Mine is eggplant and the grape leaves. So then you take your knife and you make a slit into the half of the onion so that it opens up while it's steaming. And again, that will make it easier for us to pull the layers off of the onion to stuff them. And I just set it in right next to the cabbage. And then we'll put those on the stove over medium heat, and they'll simmer for a little bit and steam until they get nice and soft and they're suitable for stuffing. Again, when you're slicing through the side of the onion, you only want to go halfway through. You don't want to go more than that. And so stop right in the middle. The onion will open up just beautifully. So I went halfway through, and I'll be able to peel these layers off and stuff them very easily. So now I'm going to put the lid on, capture the steam, put it on the stove on a medium heat, and that will take a good 20-30 minutes. We're going to continue to prepare all of the vegetables that will be stuffed. So I have some nice yellow squash here. I cut the top off because you can't stuff this part, and it goes really well actually in the compost
We'll
pile.
actually put that in the veggie filling.
Oh yeah, you can add, and when you're making veggie dolma, you can cut up, you can take the seeds out of the center, cut it up, and sometimes if the shell seems, if the skin on the squash seems tough, you can just take a carrot peeler and takes a little bit of it off. And then you have to take the inside out so there's room to stuff. So you can use a lot of different things. I use a melon baller. These are small squash, so sometimes it's hard to get in there without cutting through the outside of the squash. Or you can use an apple core, which also works pretty well, or a little spoon.
And even the end of the spoon works really nicely too.
And sometimes I use this little grapefruit knife, which when you cut around the edge of a grapefruit, and that's nice too because the end of it is slightly curved and it helps you get the seeds out.
When I'm making the vegetarian, I will take all of these bits of veggies and just dice them pretty finely, and we'll throw those into the filling.
I leave a little bit of meat on the sides and the bottom, but mostly remove all of the seeds. The seeds, when cooked, sometimes can be a little bit bitter, so it's nice to get them all out with still leaving the squash meat in there. When you're using the smaller, I like to use the smaller vegetables like a small squash or the small eggplant because they're usually more tender and more sweet than the big ones.
I also really love in the summer when there's tons of different kinds of summer squashes, like the patty pans, those star-shaped ones. Those are all really fun to stuff. They're all those cool little shapes.
When making vegetarian dolma, if you like, you can buy frozen soup vegetables, peas, carrots, onions. Sometimes they all come in a package together, and just add the whole package of vegetables. They're already prepared for you, and you don't have to take the time to do all the chopping and things like that. We also like to add things like a can of chickpeas, and what else? We'll take the edges of the peppers that we are going to stuff, and we'll chop those up small and add those to the filling also. I'm next going to work on some peppers. We have all different kinds of peppers, again, depending on how spicy you like it. This is a jalapeno. If you get rid of all the seeds, it's not so spicy. This is Hungarian, which is nice. It's a medium spicy pepper. And we always use these. It's not too spicy for the kids, but still adds a wonderful flavor. And the peppers are always really very easy to, you can just pull out the center and most of the seeds come right out. And you can also wash all these vegetables ahead of time if you like. Just wash the outside of them with some clear water.
So I'd like to actually cut around a little lower and then try to pull out the whole thing.
Which looks like this. So you pull out the whole seed thing. And then what I'm going to do also that makes it easier is just rinse the rest of the seeds right out.
Maybe I should.
So this is what it looks like when you take the seeds out. And again, it's easy, very easy to stuff that way. I'm not sure what kind of pepper this is, but you can stuff anything you want. We've got these little peppers here that you can buy in a package in the store. Again, they add beautiful color, and it's a nice little bite-sized piece. The Hungarian and the eggplant. We can do the eggplant too.
These other ones apparently are cubanelle.
Oh, cubanelles, yeah, which is a mild pepper.
We also like these lunchbox peppers. They're nice because they're little. Sometimes if you stuff a really huge pepper, it's too much for one person because if it's me, I wanted to eat a couple of grape leaves and some onions, and some cabbage and a pepper. So these little ones are a nice size for that. But the big ones are great too. It's really personal preference.
Just remember when you use the larger size peppers, they take up a lot of space in your pot. So you might need a little bit larger pot if you're going to use bigger vegetables to stuff.
Technically, you could add any of these vegetables to the meat filling. No Chaldean would probably ever do that in a million years.
No, they do. They do.
I've never seen it done in any of the big pots of dolma that I have been able to enjoy, but because I'm somebody who likes to add veggies into everything I'm eating and try to eat more veggies, if I were making a meat version, I would go ahead and throw all these extra veggies in as well. I also like to sometimes do a little tapping to get a few extra seeds out.
All right, next thing on the list is I'm going to prepare these eggplant. And again, you just cut off the tip. Eggplant is not a vegetable I would recommend putting in the filling because it gets really kind of mushy. It adds a different texture when it's cooked to the filling. So I wouldn't recommend taking the extra eggplant and adding it to the filling, but you're welcome to try it and see if your family loves cooked eggplant. It might be something they enjoy. And the same thing, I'm going to use the melon scooper to start, and then I'll use the apple core to get the rest out.
And no worries if you don't have special stuff. A little spoon will work just
yep,
fine.
A small spoon will work perfectly.
While I'm doing this, I like to just check on the cabbage and the onions. They're looking good.
You can lower that heat a little bit, Heather. The steam will take care of, yep. Check the other one, yep.
Now that they're simmering.
Now that they're simmering, you can turn down the heat and just let the steam soften up the skin of the vegetable, the cabbage and the onion. Now you can stuff tomatoes. I don't usually, and you can use Roma tomatoes, which are better than these because they hold their shape better. This is a nice, firm, ripe tomato, but it will still get mushy in the Dolma. And I also always save the top of the tomato and put it back on when I put it in. So I'm going to show you how to do it, but it's not often that we add tomatoes unless they're delicious summer tomatoes. And you got to take all the seeds out of the tomatoes. And because it's so wide, the opening is so wide, that's why I save the top, and when I cook it, I just put it back on and set it in the pot like that. And now that all the vegetables are ready to go, we're going to take the onion and we are going to chop it for the filling. While you're still got your cutting boards out, then that'll and also some people add chopped minced garlic to the filling. If your family likes that flavor of garlic, feel free to do that. I don't always add garlic. Sometimes, depends on the crowd I'm making it for. But I will show you how to do and you don't need too much. Just maybe three cloves chopped and minced. So now's a good time to start chopping your onion. And these you don't want them to actually cook, you just want them to steam and soften up. And you can tell the cabbage is turning a little darker green, and I'll show you what that looks like. And so this is you see the cabbage turning a dark green. And if I flip the onion around, you'll see that the onion is starting to separate just a little. And that's exactly what you want. You want it just to separate just a little bit. It's already coming apart. But just so you can see how the onion separates. And really when it's nice and separated, you know that it's just about done. So I'm going to turn the heat off and just let the steam continue to steam these for a few more minutes while we're still preparing the vegetables.
Nia's demonstrating a great trick for peeling garlic. Do you want to tell them what you just did, Nia?
Take your little clove and then you crush it with your knife. So you hear a little crunching sound, and then the skin comes off much easier that way.
You can put it right in there. You can chop it small too. When you mince it like this, the flavor spreads through the filling a little more, but the chop works just as well, no worries, if you don't have a garlic mincer. And I don't know if it's part of the written recipe, Heather, the garlic.
It's an option.
It's an option. There's a lot of options in the written recipe. And again, you'll learn what flavors you like and what flavors you don't like, and what your family enjoys the most, and that's what you'll use. Okay, there you go, sweetheart. So again, I'm sensitive to onions when I'm chopping them. So I'm going to let Heather step in and chop these. So if you're following along with us, the only thing that you really should do first is get the cabbage and onion started steaming, and the rest of the vegetables you can do in any order. There's no special order that you have to do that on. And as soon as we're done with chopping the onions, we're going to add everything to the bowl to make the filling. Again, we like a lot of onion. It gives it a lot of flavor, especially in the vegetarian dolma. It's going to give it a nice texture also.
So when I started making dolma for the first time in my 20s, I was vegetarian at that time, so that's what I'm most familiar with and what I still do most often. And even now, I am an omnivore, but I do avoid beef most of the time for environmental reasons. Anyway, so I've developed my favorite vegetarian filling, which involves fresh parsley and also carrots, in addition to the onion, the garlic, and all the other bits of veggies that we already added in here.
Chickpeas.
As well as, chickpeas. I like the texture of chickpeas and the extra protein. And now there's a lot of alternative proteins out there, like Beyond Beef. I have tried dolma with this, and I prefer the chickpeas personally, but if you like Beyond Beef, you'll probably like it in your vegetarian dolma as well. So lots of options. So I'm gonna go ahead and chop this parsley and chop up the carrots for the vegetarian filling.
I'm gonna just mention that you can use whatever vegetables you want, really.
Yeah, it's really quite flexible. As my mom was saying, you can get frozen veggies and throw those in, whatever you have in the fridge. I have never done celery, I will say, but certainly the peppers are delicious.
I like my knives.
My mom is the best cook I know, but has the worst knives ever.
They haven't been sharpened since 1985.
That's actually not true. Your dad sharpens them every time he cuts meat. So.
All right, so this is pretty fine. It would be better if I had a sharp knife. But it's good enough.
All right, chop your carrots.
My sister already peeled these. I really like to use local carrots, so that's an option, but you can also buy baby carrots and chop those in.
Yeah, this is an easy option. This is another time saver that we often use. And we'll put carrots on the bottom of the pot.
It's just gonna go on the bottom.
Since we're making two separate pots here, there are some things I'm preparing while she's chopping the veggies, because if you're not going to be doing the veggie dolma, if you're doing the regular beef dolma, you can get your 2 cups of rice ready. Just measure that out. And if you're working along with us to make the vegetarian dolma, then we are almost done, and you'll be right along with us. You won't have to catch up with anything. I suggest any long grain rice will work well, whatever your favorite. If you have a favorite rice, you can use it. I'm going to open the can of chickpeas and drain the liquid. So while she's finishing chopping the carrots, we're going to add the chickpeas. Do you want the whole can in there?
Mm-hmm. Yes, please. Thank you.
The diced tomatoes, and again, you're going to have this recipe when you sign up for the class. You'll have the written recipe, so you'll know all the ingredients.
So just...
This is not part of my mom's recipe. This is something I added. They're diced green chilies. They come in mild, medium, or hot. I use the medium, and I think they add a great flavor to the dolma. So I add those. But that's not part of my mom's or grandma's original recipe. They didn't really have Mexican food back home. Okay, so we're going to continue with our filling. Again, this is 2 pounds of coarse ground sirloin. And we're going to add all of the ingredients, the diced tomatoes, the rice,
All that juice is okay? Just dump the whole can in?
we like it juicy, and so we use all the juice, except from the chickpeas, because that changes, the chickpea juice will actually change the texture if you add that. It thickens when it's cooked. 1 whole can of tomato paste.
Now it is.
So we're continuing to add all of the ingredients for the filling. When we've got all the ingredients, I like to put on a pair of kitchen gloves and just mix it with my hands. That's the way to get it mixed the best. Or you can just mix it with a spoon. Make sure you mix it well enough when you're doing it for a long time so that all the flavors are mixed together and it makes beautiful filling.
So just to review what we have in the vegetarian filling right now, we have all of our diced veggies from the veggies we're going to stuff. We have some chopped parsley, a chopped onion and garlic, the diced tomatoes, the diced carrots, the green chilies, and the last thing I'm going to add is the 6 ounces of tomato paste.
And the rice.
Oh, and the rice, and the salt and pepper.
Oh, yeah.
Better not forget that.
Salt and pepper. So, but this recipe, we're using 2 tablespoons of salt. And I use this sea salt, and it's a little bit milder flavor, so if you get a little more in there, it's not going to hurt anything. And 1 tablespoon of pepper. And again, depending on the black pepper you use, if you guys don't like it too spicy, you can add a little bit less. If you like it very spicy, add a little more. And that is the filling. Let me pass these over
So we have,
to the
you
veggie.
said 2 tablespoons of salt, 1 tablespoon of pepper, right?
Yes. And I'm putting on my gloves to mix it, to make sure all the flavors get mixed in well. You want to show mixing with a spoon, or do you use your hands?
Yeah, I can do.
And you just mix everything.
Feel free to use a spoon too if you don't want to get your hands mucked up, or if you don't have gloves.
Really long spoon.
Bree, you want to get in here and do some of this?
Sure.
As you're doing this,
Bree.
you can take the before you start mixing, you could actually do this too. It doesn't matter when you do it, but the cabbage and the onions are going to be a little hot to handle. So normally before I would start mixing this, I would take the lids off and let these start to cool a little bit. Or even sometimes if I'm ready to go with stuffing, I'll rinse those in cold water. And then I'll show you how we pull the pieces apart to get them ready to stuff. I'm going to mix this for another few minutes, a little bit more here. Make sure everything's mixed in well. Especially the salt and pepper, you want it to reach every part of the mixture. And now you should be about ready to start stuffing the grape leaves, the vegetables, and putting your whole pot of dolma together. So it seems a little daunting to make a pot of dolma on your own, but I want you to realize that once you have all the ingredients together and all the vegetables prepared, it goes really quickly. And after you do it the first time yourself, it's going to be even easier.
And if you rope all your relatives into helping you, it's going to be even easier.
You have to make more so you can feed them all.
It's true.
Okay, so I'm going to show you next. I'm going to rinse this in cold water so I don't, this is the steamed cabbage and onion, and I'm going to rinse it in cool water. So here is the cabbage and the onions that have been steamed. I'm going to drain out the hot water and then rinse it off with some cool water so that we can handle it and not burn ourselves. You can just take these cabbage and onions and start pulling them apart and get them ready. They'll cool off a little bit. So see, this onion is going to come off so easily, and you just stuff that, and it stuffs. Onions are the fastest and easiest to stuff. Okay, so I need to trim the edge of that off a little bit. But the little pieces of onion, I always just save and I throw them on the bottom of the pot. You'll get to the center of the onion, which is going to be too small to stuff. Thank you, Heather.
This.
Yeah. And you can just take those little pieces apart. We throw them in the bottom of the pot. Again, they'll caramelize and they'll be absolutely delicious, just cooked. Okay. And then same with the cabbage. The cabbage, you have to be very gentle when you're pulling off. You just look for the top leaf on the head of cabbage and gently roll it off. See, I already tore that one. You got to be careful when you're rolling it off. And when I roll the cabbage, I cut off the hard part at this bottom. And again, all this loose cabbage will go on the bottom of your pot and it'll be delicious. It'll be caramelized and really, really good. I'll set these aside so we know those are for the bottom of the pot. So for those of you who may have seen someone make these in the past, maybe a mom, a grandma, an aunt, somebody, a family member, everybody has their own way of doing things. And there's no right or wrong. There's no right or wrong order in which to get all this done. So just so you know, you really can't mess things up too much. You got the main ingredients, the filling, and a lot of love. It's going to taste good no matter what.
She says that now, but that was not what she was saying when she was teaching us to make it.
A lot of people, when adding spices, add what we call baharat, which is an allspice. And I did not grow up eating allspice. And my mom never put it in the dolma, so I don't. But a lot of people do. And if you like that flavor of the baharat, the allspice, please feel free to add. I would add about maybe a teaspoon or a teaspoon and a half to this amount of filling. And this recipe calls for a lot of lemon. Again, my family loves lemon. If your family are not lemon lovers, just cut down on the amount of lemon that you're adding and add a little more water. It'll be delicious either way. Okay, so we probably have enough cabbage right here. We're going to get the grape leaves ready too. These are the ones that I jar myself, and I use, I take a stack of grape leaves, roll them up, put a little salt on that, and stuff them in the jar, and I do probably 6 or 8 little roll-ups in one jar, and then I pour lemon juice on top of it, and so it's an actual brine that I'm using. I just take the grape leaves out one roll at a time, open them up, and then I'll rinse them off a little bit. And if you buy grape leaves from the store, you'll want to do this also, because the grape leaves from the store are also in a salty brine. So you'll want to just give them a quick rinse. So just a quick rinse is good. And then we are ready to start stuffing. So this is my pot.
This is the pot for the vegetarian.
I'm going to put a few pats of butter on the bottom, and the reason I do that is because we put carrots and cabbage to line the bottom of the pot. That's so the stuffed items don't stick. But the butter helps the cabbage and the carrots caramelize while it's cooking, and the vegetables, when you pull them out, are absolutely delicious.
You can also use butter in the vegetarian, but if you want to make it vegan, you can use olive oil or an oil of your choice. So I'm just going to put a little swirl on the bottom.
And I'm going to just throw these grape leaves, these carrots in the bottom of the pot. And Bree has some carrots there for her pot. And then all the cabbage pieces that are left will go right in the bottom also. And this makes a delicious addition to your dolma when you turn it over. Oh yeah, we don't want to forget the little pieces of onion too, which are also delicious to eat plain. And we are ready to roll the dolma. I usually start by putting 6 or 8 rolled grape leaves on the bottom, and then I start stuffing some of the bigger vegetables, and then I go back to rolling a whole layer of grape leaves, and I alternate like that. And you can lay it out in your pan any way you want. So I just use a heaping teaspoon, depending, and again, this depends on the size of your grape leaf, how big your grape leaf is. I like to put the grape leaves flat down on something, a plate, or my mom used to do it right in her hand like this. It just depends on what you're comfortable doing. I like to roll it on a surface, and you tuck the sides in. So you put the veins, there's 2 sides to a grape leaf, the front, which is darker green, and the vein side, and I put the vein side up. So the darker green is on the outside, and you just roll. I tuck both corners in and roll. And when you go through the grape leaf, some of them are a little bit small, and we just put 2 together and still roll them. We don't want to waste the precious commodity of grape leaves. So this one's a little bit small. I mean, I could put less filling and make it teeny, but in my mind, it's easier to roll if you put it with another one. This leaf is kind of torn on the bottom, so that's a perfect leaf to add to this.
It depends where you get them, but they can be kind of delicate. So you want to be careful, because if you rip them, then obviously they're not going to be kind of rolled as tightly. And the filling could come out. And some people, there's all different ways to roll it, just like there's all different ways to make it. Some people roll from the side. I usually go from the bottom, like where the stem is, and roll it up and tuck both sides in. Some people leave one side open, so there's no specific right way to do it, but if you're doing it in Judy's kitchen, she will tell you to do it this way, and she will also tell you to do it very tightly, or that you're doing it wrong. So if you really want the authentic experience, you can get an older female relative to come stand over you while you do it and tell you you're doing it wrong.
It does go a lot faster during this portion of it if you have someone to help you roll. It literally takes half the time, and you get done faster, and then you get to eat it quicker. So take your vegetables, the cabbage. Again, I always cut off the fat white part of the cabbage just because it's too hard to roll. It actually won't close, the cabbage won't close all the way if you leave that piece on. And I like to tuck it quite a bit in the cabbage because it will unfold during cooking. And this you like to roll tight too. Now I can't fold this side, it'll crack the cabbage, but you fold this side nice and tight and kind of just make this a small edge. And that's what a folded cabbage, stuffed cabbage looks like. I don't know if this has 2 sections, I don't think so, but the onions are very simple. You just take a glob of filling and throw it in there and you're done. One side tucks inside the other. The peppers, same thing. Don't go all the way to the top because you know the rice is going to expand when you cook it. So you leave a little bit of area at the top so that there's not a lot of rice filling running around loose in the pot. Just a little bit at the top. Give the rice room to expand. Sometimes when I do this, ooh, got in my eyes. I put two peppers together so that the tops are like against each other in the pot. So leave a little bit of space there. And I'll set it in the pot like this. The tomato, again, I don't usually use tomatoes, but just so that you have an idea of how to do it if your family likes stuffed tomatoes. Loosely packed, again, the rice is going to expand. Don't forget that. And I set this on top, and I'll just set it in a corner here so it doesn't tip over. Now, when I flip the pot, the tomato is going to probably open up and the filling, some of the filling might come out. And the eggplant, same thing. Just stuff it in there and leave a little bit of opening at the top. And you can also put the edge against the side of the pan too, so the stuff doesn't fall out while it's cooking. Now the Hungarian pepper, I like it sort of in the center because you'll get a little bit of the spice from the Hungarian pepper throughout the whole pot. So I kind of like to strategically place these so that it's kind of in the center of everything. So we got 3 layers there. The peppers are a little, you know, because of the narrowness at the bottom, they're a little harder to stuff. You just have to kind of push it down there. And then place it in the pot. And it's good. This is what it's looking like so far. This Hungarian pepper will go here. Like that, right in the middle. Get that nice flavor throughout the pot. So we have our completed pots all rolled up, ready to go. I'm going to put a few pats of butter on the top of this one. On the vegetarian, we're going to put some oil.
I have a 1/4 cup of olive oil here. I'm just going to drizzle that right on.
And this is a 1/2 cup of butter.
And the 1/2 cup is part on the bottom, part on the top.
Yeah,
right?
yes. As you saw me earlier, I had put some few pats on the bottom so that the carrots and the cabbage will caramelize. And now my family likes lemon, so I'm going to add 2 cups of lemon juice to this pot with the meat filling. But I would definitely cut it back if you don't like to pucker when you eat it.
So the recipe, we advise 1.5 cups of lemon juice, but yeah, it's up to you.
And 2 cups of water, and you just pour that right in. Just in case you didn't know what to do with it. And it's ready to cook. Put it on the stove on a medium-high heat and bring it to a boil. Your pot of dolma is now on the stove cooking. I would say bring it to a low boil for about 20 minutes. You don't want it to boil too fast because then all the filling starts to come apart and the grape leaves, they'll all come apart if it's boiling too fast. So about 20 minutes on a low boil, and that's maybe a medium heat, again, depending on the kind of stove you have. And I'd simmer it for another 20 to 30 minutes. When you're ready to taste it, you just take one off the top and open it up and eat it. If the rice is cooked, you'll know it's cooked. I don't know, you have to taste it to see if you know. You'll know when it's done.
Yeah. Which is the staple advice of Middle Eastern women teaching you to cook is just feel in your heart when it's done. So if you could just learn how to do that. We didn't write that part in the recipe, but you will just know. That's just how it works. Or you will do it 12 times and call your mother every time until you get it right is more likely the way that it will happen.
So we'll show you how to test it when it's done cooking and you'll see. Okay.
Okay.
So this is the very important taste test part to make sure it's cooked. And I'm going to just put a grape leaf on here. This is the meat filling pot. We're going to take one from the veggie filling pot and see if they're cooked. And then we get to taste.
I have been nominated to gracefully eat on camera. Mm-hmm.
It's cooked all the way. Everything's cooked.
Rice tastes
The
cooked.
carrots are cooked.
Mm-hmm. The veggies are cooked. Trying the meat one.
It's hot.
Should cut a little smaller. Oh, hot.
Okay. Is it cooked?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we're going to turn these off, and in another minute we will show you how to flip the pot. We're going to let it rest for a few minutes. So here's our finished pot of veggie dolma, still steaming. Now, you can pick it up and hold it if you have two people and just lean it in and somebody can help you pour it. But I'm going to do the actual flip. There's a lot of juice in this, guys. I'm going to actually flip the entire thing. 1, 2, 3. It's so crazy.
Oh, this is so exciting.
And here's your beautiful pot of grape leaves. There's a few carrots at the bottom of the pot, but we just usually push the cabbage to the side. You can actually smell the jalapeno in here. Okay, and there it is.
It's
your finished
beautiful.
product. You guys ready to dig in?
I can't
Yes.
wait.
A waffy.
What does that mean again?
So there's not a really good translation for the word awafi. Whenever I ask somebody to translate it, I get a million different translations. So it could mean to your good health. Thank you for the compliment. I'm glad you're enjoying my food. Or enjoy the food in good health. When you look it up online, it says health for the word awafi. But it's a great word to use to show your appreciation for people that are enjoying your food. Okay, that's a wrap.